Yes, welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, we're back Monday, July 24th. Big game breakdown. ESPN game, Rockies and the Cardinals. We'll also get to the Red Sox and the Mariners deep dive. We continue with the NFC East with the Eagles fly. Philadelphia Eagles coming up and the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books in a second. We start with the Open Championship. Spieth, 12-1 in some spots. He wins. It wasn't pretty. In-running roller coaster at the Open. He was plus 175 in-game when he took the unplayable lie on 13. Great job by the caddy to point out, hey, it's about 240 to the pin, not 270. He bogeyed to fall one shot back and then went birdie, eagle, birdie, birdie, and he wins again, Teddy.
What did Brady Cannon say in our British Open preview right here on Sportsbet? He said it's going to take an elite golfer to win this tournament. Look for the best of the best. Obviously, that's what came through down the stretch on Sunday.
All right, he was terrific. I know the books would have taken a beating if Kuchar would have won 50, 60-1, as he couldn't get it done as well. And good job by Brady as well. In the matchups, like Grace over Mickelson, not even close. Easy winner, at least not even close for Mickelson, who was 10 over and missed the cut. But a horrible push, which the one we gave out with play of the day. Poulter minus 125 against Zach Johnson. Poulter had an 8-shot lead after the first day, and they tied. He had an 8-shot lead after one day. And that was a brutal push in that one, Teddy. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that nobody lost any money. You know, I'd rather have a horrible push than a horrible beat. But when you have an 8-shot lead after the first day, you kind of expect to cash those tickets. Didn't happen here, but at least you get your money back.
All right, it was a hell of a tournament, especially what Grace did on Saturday as well. Well, how about this news? Kyrie Irving wants out. Met with the Cavs management 2 weeks ago and ownership and said, trade me. I'm tired of playing with LeBron. I want to do my own thing. He gave them a list of 4 teams he wants to go to. He has 2 years left on his deal. He can opt out. His mentor and idol is Kobe Bryant. Kobe did the same thing. At least he stayed with the Lakers, but he wanted out and said, I don't want to downgrade or slow down my game for Shaq. Kyrie wants to spread his wings. He wants to leave. This would be a major move here in the association. Imagine if he gets traded to the Western Conference. The East would lose another all-star.
They sure would. But when you look at some of the numbers around Kyrie Irving, and I understand he's one of the big 3, and I understand offensively he is absolutely a catalyst. But look at this tweet from Andrew Bailey. Cleveland's overall net rating last year, plus 2.9. Their net rating with LeBron and Love on the floor and Kyrie off, plus 16.8. And then you start to look at some of the defensive numbers. You know, the real plus-minus. Point guard defense in 2016, 67 players tracked. Kyrie ranks number 62 among point guards. Last year, among 82 players tracked, he ranks number 71 defensively among point guards. So I understand the desire for star power, but I don't know that I'm trading a whole lot of assets to pick up Kyrie Irving right now. I don't think he is a difference maker on a championship caliber team. And I don't see any team that's going to be there to be at the level, certainly not in the Western Conference, of Golden State, where you want to mortgage assets to get a guy like Kyrie for the 2017-18 campaign.
Knicks could use him. They're a dumpster fire. All right, bad.
Knicks could use anybody.
They could, yeah, that's true. Bad beat and bad for the books. 30-cent move on the Rangers, plus $1.40. Went off plus $1.10. They win 6-5. The Rays bullpen blows it again. They blew it Friday, and they blew it Sunday, Teddy.
Yeah, rough series for Tampa bullpen. And remember, even on Saturday, they had a 3-1 lead in the 6th, and starter Chris Archer gave up the lead in that one. So, you know, they're up 5-3 in the 8th, lose 6-5 on Sunday. They're up 3-1 in the 9th on Friday, lose 4-3 in the 10th. When your bullpen starts blowing leads, man, that's a real gut punch. And this was a disastrous result for the book. Not a disastrous, but 30-cent move towards Texas. And anyone that had Tampa in their pockets, well, that wasn't a pretty beat.
And this was a vicious beat. Dodgers run line and the under. 4-1 in the top of the 9th. 2 outs, 2 on. Jansen blows his first save since August of 2016. And Adams takes him deep. And it was also a bad beat because Kershaw only lasted 2 innings, which leads us to bad for the books. Unbelievable. Is in Las Vegas as high as $5 at the Stratosphere, $4.80 at stations. The Dodgers were $5 with Kershaw on the mound against a team that came in 2 games under 500. They have won 15 straight started by Kershaw. They are 19-2 this year when he starts. Also 47-9 in the last 56 starts for Kershaw. They've also won 47 games in a row when they had the lead as they get the walk-off in the bottom of the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like shops like the Stratosphere in Vegas, shops that cater to the public that closed -$5. Even a shop like Penny, the sharpest book in the world, -375 at the open, -418 at the close. Nothing but Dodger money, and that's wise guy Dodger money. But, of course, you're going to have your share of bad beats when you're playing run lines, and the books, very pleased when the Dodgers don't come through on the run line. Jansen, 34 consecutive save chances before giving up that 3-run bomb to Matt Adams with 2 outs in the 9th. What can you say, Pauly? I guess he was due. Even the best relievers are going to have a hiccup every once in a while.
So Kershaw's going to the DL. Said, I don't want to compare it to what happened with the herniated disc. There's so many variables. He told Dave Roberts it wasn't the same feeling as last year when he missed 2 months. But Rich Hill's been terrific. Wood finally got roughed up the first time of the season on Friday. They're supposed to try to get Yu Darvish as well. Maybe they're in the rumored to get Britton, so help on the way for the Dodgers, I would expect.
Yeah, but this is a team, they lead all of baseball. They've had 31 players going on the DL already this season. 18 times pitchers have gone on the DL. You're talking about Alex Wood, Brandon McCarthy, Rich Hill, and now as the mainstays of that staff, all of those guys have injury histories. Maybe they're potential injuries who are just waiting to happen. This is a big hiccup for L.A. Don't underestimate. And again, the back half of the regular season, we're not that worried about the Dodgers. They're going to be in the postseason. But, when Clayton Kershaw and Back come up in the same sentence, that's something to be concerned about.
All right, more bad for the books. 30-cent move on the Reds. They beat the Marlins 6-3. And huge steam on this Pirate Rocky total, which is better from 11.5 to 12.5. It fell 16.
Yeah, with the Reds, and I don't know that Cincinnati's going to take a whole lot of steam on a game-in, game-out basis, but bettors didn't waste any time with an opportunity to bet against Tom Kohler. Kohler's now, 1-5 with an ERA approaching 8 this season, 1-10 with an ERA well above 20. With an ERA well above 7 in his last 20 starts. And Cincy, Kohler had more home runs allowed, 3, than strikeouts, 2. And as for the Pirates, Rockies over. Ton of over money. And guess what? Colorado got there by themselves. Charlie Blackmon on fire right now. 17 hits in 9 games since the All-Star break, including 4 home runs. The Rockies playing good baseball, particularly offensively.
Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the ESPN game with the Rockies and the Cardinals, and we'll get to the Philadelphia Eagles on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for big game breakdown. Powered by BetOnline. They're known for exceptional customer service, strong promotions, and every possible type of wager players are looking for. Check out the bonus page on sportsbookreview.com for the latest and best offers to open a new account today, thanks to BetOnline. The BetOnline number here for the ESPN game, the Rockies against the Cardinals. It sends Zatella against Leak, $1.50, $1.49.9, the total under -115. We've told you about Leak all season. He is who it is. He is. Look at this fielding independent pitching. Look at this graphic. Pretty much the same from 2011 to 2017, right in the same ballpark, Teddy.
That is legitimately as consistent as you'll ever find an MLB pitcher. Mike Leake is who he is. But there's 2 things worth talking about with Mike Leake in this context. Certainly when you talk about a little bit of extra value, a few cents here and a few cents there. There are 2 things Mike Leake does very, very well. Number 1, he's about as good a hitting pitcher as you're going to find. Look at this graphic right here. A Leake, again, the 285 slugging percentage is not going to wow you, but compared to the big league average for pitchers, more than 100 points better. And in the field, look at him. He tied for number 1 in defensive runs saved this season. You look over the last 6 seasons, he's in the top 3. That's guys with 1,000 innings or more. So we're talking about a guy who hits better than average and fields better than average. Those are 2 areas not necessarily reflected in those mainstream, and I'm going to go advanced metric stats.
Senzatella doesn't bring much as far as numbers, but the Rockies keep winning. He's 10-3 this year, And Colorado's 11-5 in his starts. Look at the numbers, though. The ERA is 4.67. The FIP is 4.97. The XFIP 4.47, and the Sierra Skill Interactive ERA 4.70. But he gets 7 runs a game with run support. Number one by a wide margin, Pineda, the only other pitcher that gets more than 6 in that span. What do you think? The Cardinals just had a tough series in Chicago. They played the night game. Now they come home. They got to travel, and they come home for the night game, and the Rockies beat them to St. Louis.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is a Rockies team that is tearing the cover off the baseball offensively right now. I mean, they have come out of the break on fire. We talked about Cargo and his hot streak in segment 1 of this show. St. Louis isn't hitting, and the way they closed out that series in Chicago, the way they closed out their series against the Mets, those are bad losses for the Cards. It'd be Rockies or nothing for me in this one.
All right. Well, they wish Cargo was hitting. That was Blackman who's on a roll. Cargo hasn't done shit. Game number 2, live odds. Bet online, Red Sox and the Mariners from Seattle. It's Rodriguez against Paxton. Bet online number, Seattle $1.45. 8 to total, under -120. The big news here, the Red Sox call up their top prospect, the third baseman, Davers, who is their third best prospect in all of baseball. But their offense has been struggling. They're under 500 on the road. They just lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels. Couldn't get the bats going here. Plus, the last 3 years, they've struggled in this ballpark, Teddy.
Oh, they've really struggled in this ballpark. Last 3 years at Safeco, 27 runs scored in 11 games. This is a sub-500 team on the highway right now. And you wonder, when they get shut down in L.A., what they do? They had 5 runs in the first against Nolasco, and the only win they had in that series. They just, everything that was hit in that inning was hit to the right place. The home runs aren't coming. It's like warning track power away from Fenway, not bomb power. And in these West Coast parks at night where the ball doesn't carry, where you've scored 27 runs in this park over 11 games over the last 3 years, that's a big concern for me about Boston moving forward.
Yep, they're in the rumor mill trying to possibly get Machado. That's something to follow as well if they'll gut the farm system to make a play there. Hanley struggled as well. They gotta look at him. Anyone's got to help in that offense as well. Rodriguez might have better road numbers and home numbers throughout his career. Again, it's a lefty, vulnerable to the green monster. Look at this graphic. Innings pitched at home and away, and then you see the ERA and home runs per 9 in that one. So he's been shaky. But Paxton...
Sure, we've talked about Rodriguez and Pomeranz, 2 guys who are both potentially better on the highway than they are in Fenway. But I want to get back to Hanram for a minute because, this season has not, the slugging percentage hasn't been there. The batting average hasn't been there. The Red Sox kind of been waiting for him to turn. We had that walk-off against the Blue Jays last week, and then another home run in Anaheim on Sunday. Maybe Hanley Ramirez getting ready to turn on the switch. They need his power bat in the middle of that order.
Paxton as good as anybody in July. Look at this, 4-0 with a 2.05, 15 hits, 28 strikeouts, and almost as good as anybody this season when you see the FIP, 90 innings or more. He's 4th. Look at that graphic. Sale, Wood, Kluber, and then Paxton after an easy win against Houston, who he's owned this year. Quote, I felt really good. I was throwing the curveball for strikes, moving the fastball around, mixing in some cutters too, a few changeups. Everything was feeling really good, and catcher Z did a great job of calling, and Zeke, the catcher, did a great job of calling the game back there as well. We'll get back to this game coming up with Paxton's numbers. Up next, the NFC East. We continue with the Philadelphia Eagles and the play of the day, of course, on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Redskins tomorrow, Eagles today. So we finish off the NFC East with the Eagles in a second. Teddy, what do you have?
Yeah, we got to talk about the concept here. All right, as we get into football season, everyone's going to be betting. Everyone's reloading their accounts. I want to make one thing clear. If you're not in Las Vegas, you need to have access to multiple outs. You want to reduce juice shop, you want to shop that caters to the public, and you want to shop that caters to the wise guys. If you have 3 books at a minimum, you are not going to be losing the games by half a point. You're going to be winning the games by half a point. You're going to have multiple options throughout the course of the season. I encourage you, visit sportsbookreview.com and check out their bonus pages. You can get free money for signing up through SBR. 3 books, minimum, That's what it's going to take to win this football season.
Here we go. The Eagles fly. Win total 8, over -125. Last year 7-9 straight up. 6-2 at home. They struggled on the road. 1-7. 8-8 ATS. 8-7-1 to the over. Mainstream stats: 26 takeaways, which was 10th. 20 giveaways, better than league average. +6 turnover margin for a last place team with a rookie quarterback. Look at these offensive numbers: 5 yards per play, 29th. 4.1 yards per rush, slightly below average. 5.9 yards per pass attempt, 29th. 33 sacks allowed, slightly fewer than average. The problem you had last year was the wide receivers couldn't catch the damn ball. Well, they addressed that in the offseason.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, a lot of personnel changes for Philadelphia. But when you're talking about a team that finished in last place, and before they, remember, they went a crazy season for Philly. They started out 3-0, and then they're sitting at 5-9 before they win the last 2 weeks over a pair of playoff teams in the Giants.
Like the Vikings had the bye when they were hot.
Yeah. They beat. We'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to strength of schedule this year. But they beat some good teams last year. But when you have a +6 margin, you're a last place team with a rookie quarterback. That stands out to me as a stat that you wouldn't expect to see. And they're near the bottom of the league in yards per play on offense, near the bottom of the league in yards per pass attempt, below average rushing. It wasn't a good offense last year by any stretch of the imagination, and yet all the reports on Wentz, and you watched him, it was pretty good. And certainly from the offseason standpoint, what Philly's done in terms of revitalizing that skill position talent, there's some things to like and some things to expect improvement for from Philadelphia offensively in 2017.
Peterson's back as head coach, Reich the OC, Schwartz defensive coordinator. The needs, look at what they did in the offseason. Barnett, they drafted first round. Jones, a cornerback out of Washington as well. I like this pickup. They took Pumphrey, and here in Mountain West Conference country, he was terrific, the running back at San Diego State. They also, I like this. Alshon Jeffrey bet on himself. He signed a 1-year deal for $12 million. I think he'll have a big year. They also brought in Torrey Smith. They picked up Blunt from the Patriots. Sproles is back as well, so they're deep at the running back position. Also, there was major issues. They were horrible in short yardage because they didn't have you got Matthews who can't run the ball, and Sproles is too small, so they have a good back in Blunt with third and short and third and manageable as well to pick up those easy yards or tough yards. Aguilar couldn't catch the ball last year. Matthews had a case of the drops as well, but they have a lot of weapons this year as opposed to last year. It's a lot easier when you're throwing to Smith and Jeffrey. Jeffrey could be set for a monster year, Teddy.
Sure, and you talked about the continuity in the coaching staff, with Doug Peterson back and with Jim Schwartz back on defense. Frank Reich back as the offense coordinator to me is as big as any of them, because it's so key for a young quarterback to learn a system, to learn a terminology, and then not have the rug pulled out from under him. Just ask, Blake Bortles about that. And let's not forget about Philadelphia's special teams and Dave Phipp, the special teams coach. The Eagles' #1 ranked special teams unit last year. Multiple special teams rankers had Philadelphia #1. It made a huge difference in their season. Their coverage was great. Their returns were great. So the fact that Phipp and the special teams, all the top three, the 3 key guys for special teams, all back, kicker, punter, long snapper, is a bonus for Philadelphia. Now, look, it was a conservative offense for Wentz as a rookie last year. His average pass traveled 7.3 yards in the air. That ranked number 26 in the NFL. And when he did throw deep, he was 24th in QBR, 26th in pass rating. Some of that was dropsies. Some of that was iffy receivers. Some of that was a rookie quarterback learning his way. But, you look at the additions, and, yeah, you get LeGarrette Blount, you get Darren Sproles, you got Jeffrey, you got Smith. You have all these big names, guys who've had success elsewhere they're bringing in. It's solid on paper, and the offensive line solid on paper too, Pauly. Remember, if Lane Johnson doesn't get suspended for another 10 games this year, they could be in very good shape. They were 3-0 when he got knocked out of the lineup last year. Question, can they coax another healthy season out of 35-year-old Jason Peters at left tackle? Pro Football Focus ranks this offensive line #1 in the NFL.
They caught a break, too. Well, it's a good thing they get rid of McKelvin, who was awful last year. I watched a lot of Eagles games. They were throwing exclusively at that guy. He couldn't, he was burnt toast. He was terrible. So those are some moves they made. They also grabbed Chris Long from the Patriots. I mentioned they drafted Barnett as well, so they tried to shore up the defense. What do you think of the schedule?
Well, let's get back to the defense because we never went through Philly's defensive numbers from last year because they were, the 5.6 yards per play allowed, that's slightly below average. 85.7 opposing QB rating allowed, that's slightly above average. 34 sacks, league average. 4.2 yards per rush allowed, league average. And it's funny, you look at all the stats, league average. Watching this defense, the secondary wasn't good. Jim Schwartz put together a pretty good defense last year. They really did. And, certainly they have major issues at cornerback coming into the campaign. McKelvin's gone, Nolan Carroll's gone. That's 28 starts from their secondary last year. They brought in Patrick Robertson. They brought in Dwayne Gratz as new veterans. Gratz has been released already. And then, Harry Roseman, the GM, spent his second and third round picks on cornerbacks, but the number 2 pick, Sidney Jones, he tore his Achilles during Washington's pro day. They knew that when they drafted him, but it's a real question mark for me how that secondary is going to be put together, even though you like the safeties in Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod. And I love what they did on the defensive line. They brought in Tim Jernigan at the DL. You talked about Chris Long. The number 1 pick in Derek Barnett. They're 4 deep at defensive end. They're going to have a better pass rush this season than they did a year ago. When it comes to strength of schedule, last year they had the single toughest schedule in the NFL. Just brutal a season ago. And they didn't win any close games, 1-6 in games decided by a touchdown or less. Now, they did not whinge over 4 different playoff teams, Giants, Steelers, Falcons. Didn't they beat the Cowboys as well?
It was week 17. Week 17.
Yeah, but true. But so their schedule this year isn't weak. It's league average, but compared to last year, it is the single biggest drop-off because last year's schedule was so tough. Their schedule much easier in 2017 than it was in 2016. The NFC East faces the AFC West, and the NFC West, there are 2 extra games at Carolina and Chicago. Worth noting, they have a rare 3-game road trip. They only, in fact, have 1 home game between November 5th all the way through Christmas. They're at Dallas. They're at Seattle. They're at the Rams. They're at the Giants. And the Seattle and the Rams back-to-back West Coast trips during that span. So if they run out of gas somewhere in November, wouldn't surprise me. That is a very rough end to the season schedule-wise for Philadelphia.
Early lean?
I'm not betting them over. I think the markets have this team priced correctly. To me, 8 is the right number for the Eagles. But if I'm playing them in any way, I would have to play them under the 8, simply because I got the questions about the secondary, and I don't like even though the schedule is easier, I don't like the way it lays out for them over the back half of the campaign.
All right, we finish it out tomorrow with the Redskins. Money time, play of the day. Back to the Mariners. Hey, Paxton's on fire. Red Sox struggling on offense. They've struggled in this ballpark. Add it all up. Let's lay the $1.45 at home. Betting number 966. Paxton and the Mariners to get it done at home against the Red Sox. We'll talk to you tomorrow on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.